Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Angels and Destiny show. Why is this show called this, you may ask? So I tell you. The accepted meaning of angel is messenger, and the accepted meaning of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guests and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And of course, I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Rhonda Reif. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live at a later date, as it means a lot to me to connect with like minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I'm a guide who helps you remember your divine presence so that you can heal your past, create your future, and transform your present. To expand your consciousness, understand your spiritual path, and take charge of your destiny so you can spread your wings and soar. I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy, and through Divine Presence, virtual and actual retreats, transformational packages, a 6-week guided meditation series for confidence, workshops, and much more, you remember why you are here, your spiritual path, and the clarity on the next steps to take. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey. A mini guided meditation or angel oracle card reading with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Rhonda Reif, about numbers you can count on. Now, Rhonda is an author, speaker, consultant, and holistic health practitioner, and an expert in the field of conscious communication. In conjunction with her speaking and consulting business, Life Pathways, Rhonda also operates a private holistic health practice, the Stress Management Centre, and Holistic Horizons Institute of Healing Arts. Now, there are many ways that we can receive and perceive information through communication, including non-verbal communication, symbols, numbers, and colours. And in order for us to consciously communicate, we must learn to integrate our body, mind, and spirit by bringing our subconscious awareness into focus. Then we can merge our subconscious thoughts with our conscious thoughts. Now, all healing, whether it be relationships, health, or personal issues, begins with an awareness between the mind and body connection. Now, over 30 years ago, Rhonda sustained a personal injury that led her towards a holistic path. Rhonda has found that there are profound overlaps between her business and communications expertise and her holistic health expertise. Now, everything in the universe can be explained in terms of energetic frequencies and mathematical values to show us our life path. So, without further delay, hello, Rhonda, and welcome to the Angels and Destiny show. How are you today?
I am magical today, Ray. How are you?
Yep, I am very well, especially as it's my 200th edition of the show. So, yay on that one.
That's very exciting.
I know it's the spring equinox. Hooray! And it's your birthday. Yay! Happy
I know.
birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we've got all
And
the
I just wanted
numbers lined up.
exactly, because the 200 today's 20th. So there's that significance as well too. So there's that, and zeros are always a form of protection. So that means that there's a lot of protection around the show and things that are going on. And two is the number of partnerships and doing things. And so yeah, today's a really strong energy day all the way around. So I'm excited to get the opportunity to do this.
Oh, excellent. So before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you that not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments and thoughts, as both Rhonda and I want to be part of this conversation. So please don't be shy. And Graham's already saying, hi, ladies, good afternoon from Florida. Hi, Graham. Thank you for joining us. And of course, you can join us because our clocks here in the UK haven't changed yet. So obviously, the time difference is slightly different. So, Rhonda, why don't you tell us more about your journey and then how we can count on numbers?
Okay. So it's interesting because when I was a child, I had a near death experience and I had my tonsils out. And then they didn't realize that my blood wasn't clotting. I had a rare disorder. And so I hemorrhaged and they had to take me back to emergency surgery. And I actually died. Now, I want to keep people in mind that this would have been over 50 years ago. So you didn't really talk about all of those kinds of things back then. But I remember very clearly me floating over my body, me seeing them working on things. I remember actually going and crossing a little bridge. I can remember what I was wearing. I was met by a little shepherd boy when I got there, and then the shepherd boy took me, and I actually then I saw Jesus. I met Jesus, and I want people to know that that's who I saw, but that doesn't mean that I believe that only Jesus is in heaven. So, I don't want people to get the misconception that this is some kind of a religious experience. I believe that Jesus met me because that's what my background and understanding was, especially as a small child, because I would have been 9 years old. And now 9 is the number of completion. So that's an interesting thing that happened when I was 9. When I met Jesus, and every person that I met in heaven, everyone was speaking, but we were communicating, but not actually using words, or, it was all telepathy. And Jesus said to me, "Come, I want you to feast from the table of wisdom and knowledge." And he took me to this really long wooden table, and there was nothing on it, nothing physically on it, but there was all of this information on it. There was all of this like higher knowing information, like everything, secrets of the universe or something. And,
Wow.
he said to me, "Take what you want." And I took it all. Like I was just like, "Oh, I want to know everything." It's kind of like you just start doing this. And I was in heaven and I didn't want to go home. Like I did not want to go home. And he said, "You have to go home. Like you need to go back and you need to share these gifts." And I was like, "But I don't want to leave," because it was such a comforting place. And then he said, "I want you to see what's going to happen if you don't go back." And it would have just devastated my family, especially my father. And then they showed me even something more, and they said that you will look at all the people whose lives that your family is going to touch, especially my father. And he was always helping people. My mother helped a lot of people too, but they showed me all of these people that would not be helped if it weren't for my dad, and that it was going to just devastate him, and that wasn't going to happen either. And so, I reluctantly returned, and I know that they were all wanting me to come back, but I never really quite got over that. Like I've had this whole issue now of worthiness, like since I was a child, because I thought, gosh, even heaven didn't want me, like I had to come back. And so, I told my family, no, I struggle with that. And, intellectually you can tell yourself, no, that's not what it meant. You had a higher purpose. But, as a child, that's not how it seems. It seems like heaven said, no, you have to go back. And so yeah, so that's been a real eye-opening thing. And I told, my parents and stuff about it, and they were like open to it. They believed me, but they were like, "You can't be telling people this, because people will have that." And it wasn't until years later that I realized how telepathic the whole family was. Like I couldn't understand when I would think something and I was with other people, that they didn't just immediately pass the salt, or in a grocery store they didn't move their cart out of the way. Like I had just been raised in this sort of telepathic family and didn't realize it. And so they believe, especially when you do numbers, that you pick your parents. And so I definitely think that that's why I picked that. So years later, like I never really dealt much with that, but my mother got me this book because I had started having all these dreams and stuff after having come back. And she got this book, and it was on dream interpretation. It also had a section of astrology in it, and it had a numbers section. And the numbers just really gravitated to. Now, all this stuff, anything woo, I love. I'm a Pisces, I love it. And but then I started, playing with the numbers. So I've been doing people's numbers since I was about 11 years old. And I love it. And, I've learned and done it and all of that kind of stuff. And it's not just numerology. Like the more that I've gotten into this, the more it's beyond that. People don't realize that Pythagoras was the famous mathematician who discovered that everything in the universe vibrates at a mathematical frequency, and that it has a predictability. So things that resonate at a 2 are going to have this personality or characteristic. Things that are a 7 are going to have this. And I'm not talking just people. I'm talking names, businesses, your website, like all of those things, the dates, all those things are going to have that predictability, that resonance. So, I discovered that Pythagoras existed almost 1800 years before people started using numerology. And what they did was they just took a little snapshot of what Pythagoras had found mathematically, and they had started using it sort of as I don't want to say a parlor trick, but basically as a divination tool.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want people to know, because a lot of people think it's just hooey. And I want people to know, no, there's a very strong scientific background to this, because Pythagoras is the one who discovered the harmony of spheres. He came up with musical notes. I mean, there's all of these things, and he did that all based on numbers and predictability. So there's a lot to it, with that. So then fast forward a few years, about 10 years or so, 12 years further, probably around the age of 22, is when I got injured with my arm. And I was a corporate trainer for Baskin Robbins, and I had 38 stores that I supervised. I was a dessert coordinator where I would have up to 250 stores owners come to a meeting, and I would show how to do the latest dessert. I wasn't the only one doing it, but we'd have meetings like that. And I developed Scooper's Help. I was working 120 hours a week. I loved my job. If you bought a store, Ray, I would come in and I'd work in your store for a month and teach you everything from how to clean the bathroom grout, to scoop the pink banana split, to unload the ice cream semi, to what's the marketing strategy. So, and I loved it. I was one of their top employees in the world in the 80s. And, it's just I thought I was going to do it for 31 years and retire. But the doctor said I did to my body what running the car without oil would do to the engine.
Oh,
And yeah, and I had paralysis. I developed paralysis in my right arm, and I'm like, now what am I going to do? And so I went back to graduate school and was working on my MBA. And I happened to meet these people that live next door. Her grandparents in their 70s. Now, keep in mind, this is the rural Midwest in the 80s. So massage is unheard of. It's not accepted. And this elderly couple did massage. And they just knew that it helped. It helped them. And she introduced me. So I went for a massage during finals week because I thought, okay, I need to have like relaxation, right? And she said to me, "You're the most stressed out person I've ever worked on." She's like, You have tension between your toes." And, that was before people had to fill out a form. What are your health problems? It was like all this. And so she started working on me, and she said, "Honey, do you have problems with your right arm?" I said, "Yeah." And then she hit all of these points behind my ear, on my back, on my shoulder, down my arm. And she's like, "Well, does it hurt here and here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, it's all related." I said, "Well, the doctors have told me that I'm nuts, that the pain behind my ear has nothing to do with my elbow." And that was a total change then. She said, "I think I can help you." Now, keep in mind, I'd struggled for years. I literally had to use my left hand to move my right arm. And and so and pain, a lot of pain, nerve damage can be painful. And she had me come every other week for 2 weeks, and that 90% to my arm back. And I was like, okay, how did this happen? So I started taking classes because I wanted to know why, how did that happen? All of this. And I wanted to be prepared, never thinking I was going to get into a field of holistic health. I was going to be a corporate, MBA CEO somewhere. And she actually, started teaching me things to do. And because I wanted to know how to fix it in case it started to come back or whatever. And, then I graduated in 1990 with the MBA. The job market sucked. I moved back home to the family farm for 3 months, and I've been here for over 33 years. I don't live there anymore, but I still live in that rural community. And so, you just never know what's going to happen. And every time, so they talked me into it. They said, "You've had all this training. You're really good at business. Why don't you open your own massage business?" And again, back then, even in 1990, that was pretty unheard of for, there
mm,
wasn't even licensing requirements, and so, and you would get all of these like people who didn't understand what you were doing. And since then, I've evolved way past the massage part of it and gotten into the energy healings and, all of the essential oils and nutrition and all of those things. And, that was a door that opened that definitely, when you open that door to holistic modalities, you are just like sucked in. And it's like that
yep.
experience of, what do you want to take from the table, wisdom and knowledge? You want to pull this and this and this and this, and you want to learn it. And now, as I reflect back, I realize, and the more I've gotten steeped into the numbers, which really kicked in gear again during the pandemic, because I had to find what are things I can do without physically seeing people. And so I appeared a couple of times on his show, and people were like, well, I want my numbers done. And so then that just kind of opened another doorway. But now I realize that, and I knew because I learned then that I was in this Pythagorean Special Brotherhood Club at high school. I solved a special problem. Now I learned this Pythagoras. I, do these different healing things, and I realize, oh, these acupuncture needles, all the points correspond to certain numbers in my chart. And I decide that I'm going to explore it further. And I realize that having known some of the things, I started looking up the Enseens and their healing sessions and stuff, all things I had been doing and didn't know. And I realized that the stuff that I know is stuff that I took from that table of wisdom and knowledge, that's where it was, because I've made the connection. And the way that I did this was I was harassed severely by a fundamentalist Christian church here in our local county, like to the point of picketing. They set my building on fire. Like you cannot believe the stuff that they did to harass me. And that led me on this journey. And they kept saying, well, this holistic stuff you're doing. And they were upset because I was teaching a class about colors and how colors affect your health and perception, which is also marketing 101. And it was like, okay, well, whatever. I better not talk about the numbers or Reiki healing because I'll really freak you out. So, I mean, they took me to court, like just all kinds of stuff. And they kept saying like, well, what you're doing is evil. It's against God. It's, and it really bothered me. So it took me on this journey, and it actually really helped because something, said to me like, okay, you need to talk to a rabbi. Like, you get that whisper in your ear, and it just kept getting stronger. Okay, I'm in Iowa. There are no rabbis where I live. Okay, the first Jewish person I ever met was in 1984, 1985, like in Chicago. Okay, so I was over 25 years old before I'd, even met somebody who was Jewish. And, and so for me to actually want to talk to a rabbi, that was like, I knew that was a message coming from spirit somewhere. And so I had to call my friend who knew a Jewish person whose mother was Jewish, who called her rabbi, who called their rabbi, who finally found one in Des Moines, Iowa, who called me, and he was like, I'm not really sure why, and Des Moines is like 4 hours from where I live, 3.5, 4 hours. So we're not talking that it was even close, right? And so I started talking to him, and he's like, no, do you not know that everything that you're talking about is stuff that's in the Kabbalah? This was before I knew what the Kabbalah was, because Madonna hadn't quite gotten into sync with that. Yeah. And so I'm like, no. So it took me on a journey with that too. And so then I started learning, and he's like, no, these things all Bible, they're in the Kabbalah. And he talked to me, and he said, you actually have a stronger knowledge of what's in the Kabbalah than he said I do, and I've studied it. So I was like, okay, but it still didn't click that I had gotten this information from this, feasting from the table of wisdom and knowledge. And then I had a friend who still fairly strongly Christian based, trying to help make sense of the numbers because they really believe in it. They see it. I've talked to them. And so he said that he started looking up his address, birth date in the Bible, and it made sense to him. So I started doing that. And would you know that one of the Bible verses, and I believe it's Revelation, but I'm not sure which book, but chapter 3, verse 20 is, Jesus says, knock on the door and I will come and feast with you. And I'm like, okay, well, that's another sign of how the numbers. So when we talk about how are people going to use these numbers, I want to tell you it's unlimited. It's not just, oh, it's 11:11, I'm going to make a wish. Yeah, you can do that. But it goes way deeper than that. There are all of these messages. And I think that there's all of these codes and information embedded in things that people aren't tapping into. And I really, that's what I want to do, is I want to help them to sort of open this whole new way of like looking at that and know that there are different messages, because numbers are the only universal language, And people will say, well, so is music. And I'll say, yeah, but music is numbers. And
Yeah.
so people just don't realize that. So that was kind of a long way to tell you how I got here. But the more that I get, and this is the kind of show that I think when we're talking about angel stuff, that people would appreciate to know that background and how I really struggled too because of, they were like, well, and again, I never felt that way about numbers, but some people have that problem with numerology. And I think that's also why I always make the point I do more than numerology. This is based on
Yeah.
Pythagorean school and his study and how it overlaps with the Essenes, which is the tribe of Jews that Jesus's mother was from. It's, they say that Jesus studied with the Essenes when he went away, when she sent him away as a child. And so yeah, so there's a lot of things with that. So I think that's an important message for people to hear because a lot of times people who use these different tools like angels or messages or whatever face a lot of backlash from people in society.
Yeah, yeah, they just don't understand that everything can work together. It does work together. It all comes, from one source. Technically,
Yes.
we can use it all. But then again, that is just what people have been brought up to believe. Again, it's because it's a power thing. If I tell you this, you believe it's a power thing. um Whereas, they people forget that they have autonomy. They can control their own life. And if you understand angels, spirits, numbers, then you have that control. You can dictate where your life goes without someone else telling you um, what it happens. And before we continue, Pale Green Thought says hi to all. Obviously, we had Graham earlier. Michael Tenglin says hi, Rhonda. And
Hello, Michael.
Doreen Conway. Wow, that was when you were talking about the evangelist sort of like coming and trying to burn your property down. It's like, y- it's one of those things that seems so surreal, but it actually happened.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. People don't realize, and I was renting the space and the landlord wouldn't get out of bed to come down. The fire department wouldn't let me leave. This guy had held me hostage in the building for several hours and people came looking for me because I didn't show up for coffee that we had agreed to meet for after class. And this was back before everybody had a cell phone, and all that kind of stuff. Then as he left, finally she said, I'm going to call the police. And so as he left, he punched a hole in the wall, went down the stairs, punched a hole in the wall and lit a fire. And I was on the third floor. And so then when the fire department did show up, like they're like, well, we can't leave because we don't know. And the landlord wouldn't get out of bed. And I'm like still there at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, oh my God. And then the police would do nothing. His wife worked for law enforcement in a different county. And they're like, are you sure you really want to do this? And so, it's one of those things that you learn. And I've never really talked publicly about this. It's probably the first time I've really talked publicly about it because you just don't want to have a lot of, backlash. But we're pretty safe. You're in England. So I know this is national, but I've been careful about who I've invited to listen to this. But yeah, and I
And
still
you've not
struggle with
mentioned
that
any
today,
names anyway, so
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, and so it's one of those things I think people need to realize that not everybody has that easy path. Like it doesn't just all of a sudden happen that you're doing something like this. Like you have to continue to know that you have that strong thing. And the other thing I wanted to mention, and this could have been part of why I felt so strong to contact a rabbi, was because when I was a child and in this near death experience, Jesus kept saying to me, but I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew. I was born and died a Jew. I'm a Jew. And so I don't really know why, if I was asking, like Christianity, but I remember very clearly, and I went to a Methodist church. Okay. So I remember very clearly then when I'm in about the fifth or the sixth grade, because this would have happened when I was in the fourth grade, the Sunday school teacher was basically sort of had this holier than thou attitude. And again, it was a Methodist church, so it wasn't even like one of those really, really fundamentalist churches. And she was just like, well, really, basically, only Christians go to heaven, and pretty much only Methodists who believe like us go to heaven. And I remember saying to her, well, what about Jews? And she was like, well, definitely Jews don't go to heaven. And then I'm like, well, then why would God have people born to other religions? Like I couldn't understand it. And I think it has to do with they don't understand the concept of things, like it's just it's bigger than that. It's bigger than those things. And so I I don't know. I've learned a lot, and I still say that too, that you know, there's more
Yeah,
to it.
definitely. And Claire says, hi, hope you're both well. Hi, Claire, thank you for joining us. And Crystal Scott Bankard says, Rhonda was my first introduction to numbers and vibration. Good to see you, friend.
Oh,
And
that's great.
Roxine, I went to church with you.
I know.
It's
She probably
brilliant.
knows the Sunday school teacher I'm talking about. But I think that that's why I questioned that Sunday school teacher. Like, I never said anything. I had the near death experience, but it was like I was in heaven with Jesus and he said I'm a Jew. So I was like, well, why don't Jewish people go to heaven? And so, um, and Jesus says, my father's house has many mansions. Who's to know that that isn't a different religion gets each
Yeah,
mansion? So
yeah, exactly. And religion is man-made. We're just all spiritual. So number-wise, it's a special day today, isn't it?
it
Number-wise.
is. It is. It is a palindrome day. And this is not going to happen again. Like, it's just not. And the only other times this happened in the past would have been, back in like the year 230, because today is three. And again, for the European people, it's a little different. So you might have one later on down the road. But for those of us that are listening, that use the month first and then the day, it's 3/20/2023. So it's a really strong vibrational day. With it being the solstice, it's already a strong vibrational day. And then the solstice here in the United States is at 4/24 today, which is another palindrome. So it's a really strong numbers day. It's a really strong vibration day. It's a really powerful day. It's the spring starting a new season. So all of those things are changing. And it's the spring season. It's starting a new astrological year as of it'll actually be tomorrow that Aries starts, but later on today, it probably shifts into Aries. And so there's all of these new beginnings. So today is a really powerful day for you to start looking at what is it that you want to create starting in the new year. Set your intentions, write down tonight, write a little journal, make down a list of everything that you want to sort of focus on or co-create, bring that into your life. And because of the threes and the twos and the zeros for today, you want to look at things that are partnerships, communication, and that also come up to the zero with a lot of protection around it. So we're on a 3 month, which is about communication, on a 2 day with protection around it, which is about partnerships, working with others, especially one-on-one working with others. And then also it's a 7 year, which is about spirituality. So this means that today is a really good day to partner with other people to communicate about spiritual messages, which is exactly what we're doing. You picked the date, you gave me some choices. I said, oh, that's my birthday. You're like, okay, that's when we're doing it. That's before I realized all this other number stuff was going on. And then with the solstice happening at 4/24, we're looking at it being the 4, which of course is the angel number, the 2 again.
Oh, you've frozen on us there, just as you're getting to the angel number two. So we just wait for Rhonda to come back in again. It's like, oh, now what are the angels sort of like going? Okay, let's just freeze Rhonda just as she's getting to that one. So we'll just wait for that. If you've got any questions about numbers, or you've got particular numbers you want to know about, then please do put it in the comments, and then when Rhonda comes back, we can go through those numbers with you. Are you back, Rhonda?
Are you cannot hear me or what?
I can hear you
Hello?
now. So hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I could always hear you. You couldn't hear me though?
All right. No, no, no. You froze on us. So you've got 242. So you started talking about the angels.
Yeah, so the fours are the angels, and the 2 then is about the partnership. So I want you to think about it like the angel wings are surrounding that partnership, relationship, all of that. So that adds up to uh, a 10, which is a 1 day with protection around it again. So that solstice, again, that new beginning, that number is there. It's going to vibrate with that. And then today is also, when you add up the numbers for today, it's a 12 day, which is a 3 again about communication. So this is a very powerful day to communicate. So communicate with your guides, communicate with your angels, your higher self, whoever it is that you want to communicate with. If you want to have, some kind of a conversation, one of the things I talk about is imagined interactions. Those are conversations that you have with other people in your head. And it's very healthy, and it helps you to prepare for that. So know that that's kind of what the numbers are. And so everybody has their own set of numbers. People are familiar with, what is my name number? What is this? What is that? But I want to give you, that you don't have to just look at just what is your life path numbers. And that's what a lot of numerologists do, is they look at just the life path number, or
Yeah.
they'll look at possibly your name number. Of course, I do that. I do charts, and I think it's helpful if you know what your numbers are, because then you can find things that are compatible. But there's 3 ways, and I have a book that I'm working on that I'm hoping I'm going to get out here and by the end of the year or sooner. It's at being edited. So, but it talks about, there's 3 things I talk about, the ways that you can use the numbers. And, it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like a covert information thing. Like once you learn these numbers, like you actually know things that you have insight. Okay. So the way that I remember these is I say, okay, the numbers have their own CIA, and it is that it's a way to communicate, that you are actually learning to confirm a message. So for instance, if you want to know about, like, you're thinking, okay, I don't know if I should buy this. I don't know if I should buy this. And all of a sudden, like, you really love threes, and the total is 333 or 332. Or another thing, if you're looking to purchase something, 1s and 6s together deal with actual, don't worry about money. So if it comes to 1616 or 161, or when I was looking to lease this new office that I moved into right before the pandemic, the address was 1616. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to worry about it then. And poof, even during the pandemic, there was ways for me to, make the rent. And so, that's a way then that I can actually know that I'm getting sort of breadcrumbs, or a way that I'm, confirming something. So that's the C, the confirmation. You can use it as a way to confirm a message or something. The I is information. So that gives me information. So I know then that if I'm going to look at something where today is a 3 day, it's a good day to focus on communication. It's not a day that I'm going to worry about money, because it's not an 8 day. I'm going to talk about communication. It's not necessarily a day that I'm going to travel, although it could be. It's about communication. It's a day that I know that's a way to do it. So that's a way to do it. If I'm somebody that wants to have a staff meeting, and I want this to be very nuts and bolts, very detail oriented, very business oriented, yeah, do it at 8 o'clock or 8:30, something where that 8 is there, because the 8 is a lesson of structure. If it's something that I want to make sure that people are having fun and lighthearted, and I want to communicate a new strategy, I'm going to have it at 3 o'clock. Or I'm going to do it at something that adds up to a 3. So that's another way then that you can use that information. Plus, you can use information like, for instance, if the address to a building adds up to a 7, you're going to know that it's going to have more of a spiritual ambiance or nature about it. And I started noticing then, during the pandemic, because all of a sudden we're not going into restaurants, we're ordering from restaurants. And I started noticing that all my favorite places to eat all have repeating digits or master numbers. And, I have master numbers in my chart, so I'm going to be more attracted to that. But it's every single one. And, is the food different across the street? Is there that much difference between the two? Well, no, then why do I prefer this one over that one? And it's got to be that energy vibration, that attraction. And that gives me then more information about why that we do that. So there's a lot there that you can have, that sort of information that you can gather. And people don't realize that there's all of this, marketing research out there about name letter similarity, and how we are more attracted to things that are similar to us as a persuasion tool. Excuse me. My throat got dry.
Yeah.
So, for instance, you're more likely to donate to a political candidate who has similar letters to you. or to buy a product that's similar letters to you. Well, again, that comes back to numbers because each letter has their own number. So of course you're going to be attracted to a certain vibration. In my book, I actually include a section that I did as a graduate project for my exit thesis kind of thing, where I actually did a survey and I did it to send out to see if they were more persuaded by similar letters. But I also made a couple of them where they have similar vibrations. And so, of course, I don't want to spoil it because you're going to have to buy the book, but it'd be
Yeah.
interesting for you to read about what the outcome of that is. So again, use it for information. If you know your worker is a 5, they're going to have to work on their own. They cannot be confined in a cage. They can't be told what to do. If they're a 4, they're going to be dependable. They're going to work really hard for you. If they're a 1, they're not going to start things. They're not going to finish them. And the longer that you try to beat your head against the wall for that. So when you have that information, that makes it easier. So now you can communicate better with them. And then the A is attraction. You can actually use it to attract certain things. So, you see all these things about the price is 97 cents or $97 or $99. And I would say, people are like, well, that's just what everybody uses. Well, what do you want to attract? Because each number sets the intention, that it sets a vibration that attracts a certain thing. So people will see 8s in a price, and Kmart has got into trouble with this. This is what actually led to a lot of their problems, was that they started pricing things at like $9.98, $8.88, $7.78, because they wanted to be a penny cheaper. They didn't want to be $7.99. They want to be $7.98. 8 appears to the subconscious mind as a dollar sign. It looks like a dollar sign. So every time you see the 8, you think expensive, expensive. And of course, what's happening is that Kmart wasn't known for high quality. They were known for, budget kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So the brain is saying, oh, I'm going to pay a lot and not get necessarily the quality. Whereas then Walmart came out and they were like 97. Okay, everything was 97 because they wanted to beat the 98. Well, that's about global service to the masses, but from a more spiritual perspective. So then all of a sudden people started thinking like, oh, Walmart's this hometown thing, not realizing that they buy a lot of stuff overseas. So it's all about that energy and that perception that appeals to the subconscious mind. And we're trained, whether you believe it or not, we are trained. We are trained to know what certain numbers are, what they mean. It's in our psyche. We're taught it from a little kid. So if you're wanting to have a spiritual treat, you want to have a 7 in the price. If you're wanting to attract business people, you might have something that's different. If you're a travel industry, you'd want to use a 5. And so there's all of these ways that you can use it to set that intention. And again, of course, the 11/11 or the 1/11, that's the day that's the time that you can actually work to manifest as well too. So there's lots of things. I mean, this is, again, not just a one show kind of thing, but to just kind of give you some teasers about those things too. And, then there's the whole angel numbers and each one of the angel numbers with that. And for people, they should know that the numbers are 1 through 9, and then 11, 22, and 33.
I,
0 is up.
yeah, it's actually so amazing, when you think about how much numbers are used in the psyche and everything, and even in computers, the way numbers, the binary numbers are used. Again, that's all numbers, isn't it? Isn't it in there? So if you were looking, so do you just, because obviously your full name adds up to a number, your birthday adds up to a number. So would you add those numbers together, or would you just go by your name, by your birthday? How, because there'd be so many different numbers for different things.
Yeah, and if they were to get a chart from me, there's up to 22 different numbers that I calculate. So I believe that each number, and again, like I don't do this necessarily like a numerology person. I look at it based on Pythagorean mathematics. So each thing has a different vibration. So your first name is going to be how people know you, because people don't call you your birthday. They don't say, hi, 3/20/1960, blah, blah, blah. They say hi, Rhonda. And so that has to do with it. And when you think of it, it's like sonar. So the vibration goes out and it comes back and gives you the perception. It's like, Rhonda throwing a pebble in the pond is going to have a different ripple than Ray,
Yeah.
because Ray is not as much. Okay. And so it's going to have different things with that. So that has a lot to do with it. So I believe that your first name is pretty much how society, your friends, people know you, all of that kind of stuff. Now, again, you can have a nickname. And then if you go by that nickname, it's going to change your frequency or your vibration. A lot of people sign documents differently than they do with what the name that they go through. The middle name then is something that you sort of keep close to your vest. It's a sort of like something about yourself that that you really use, but a lot of people don't know that about you because a lot of people may not know your middle name. So it's kind of like a secret tool in your little tool chest of what you get, because I believe the numbers help you to determine your purpose and your life path and what you're supposed to be doing when you come to the planet. And then your last name is your family name. So that is and I believe that before we come here, we actually meet with a council. We sign an agreement of what our path is going to be. We decide what lessons we want to work on while we're here and who's going to help us with those. So, and I believe that we pick our name and communicate it to our parents. How many mothers say, "Oh, I had a dream of this one getting the baby." So we determine that. We determine the spelling. So that's important too, because the spelling is going to change, because you can spell Rhonda more than one way. Mackenzie, look at how many different spellings there are for that name.
Yeah.
So the thing is that your last name then is what you've agreed to work with on the family that you've picked to incarnate with in this life. They will teach you lessons. You will teach them lessons. We'll have that. Then your total name is actually your life path number. So that gives you sort of like the direction of what you're aspiring to be, want to do with that. Then your birth date has to do with, I'm sorry, the birth date is the life path number. So that has to do with what you're aspiring to be, what you want to become. Your name number is your destiny number, which is more like what's predetermined for you to do. And then we have the total name that you add up, which is the maturation number or the realization number, which then a lot of times it takes us until about, midlife before we actually start getting that accomplished. And then we can break it down further into what years are happening, with those different things. There's 4 quadrants and what the challenges are and what those things are. But you also want to look at what numbers you don't have, because those are either lessons that you have to learn, or those are the people that you will attract to teach you. And so when all of a sudden you realize that you don't have any ones in your name, and all these people named Bob keep showing up and they keep being so independent, and they won't let you have your own way, and they start all these things and they don't finish them. I'm not talking Robert, I'm talking he goes by Bob. Then you are all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, yeah, because it's supposed to teach me to be more independent, more self-reliant, more stand up for myself, more start things, more come up with more ideas. So those things, that's important too. So there's just so many layers to what numbers teach you and help you and guide you, that you can tell how excited I am about it. So,
I
I mean,
I
does that kind
know.
of answer your question, or?
It does, absolutely. And Doreen, yes, this is recorded, so you can come back and listen to that. But she did actually give her date of birth, 11/15/1965, because they were saying if anyone wanted to know anything about numbers. So I don't know what you can say about that.
Is this going to open Pandora's box if I do numbers for one person? Is everybody going to want it? Because that's usually what happens, is that it's a floodgate of do mine, do mine, do mine, do mine, do
Do
mine.
mine. Well, all
I mean,
I
I'm happy to do it, but
Yeah. I'd
what?
suggest if we go, rather than doing it live on air, if anyone does who's watching this whilst the show's live, so although then that puts other people, if somebody does want to put that in, then if you maybe go back at a later date and then just put in um, uh, a a rough um, rough thing about it. That would be absolutely been. Although Doreen says no worries, so um, uh,
And just
that,
to give her an idea, and everybody that's listening, she would put her birth date up there again for me. Do you have the birth date again?
hmm
I know it was 1965. So Doreen, what you would do is you would add a cross 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 5 plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 5, which is an 11. So, you keep reducing it down until it comes down to a 1 through 9 or 11, 22, or 33. And so, and then each number has its own meaning, with that as well. So, I will tell you that 11 is a master number. So people that have, master numbers in their charts generally have a higher calling. I don't mean that they're better than anybody else, but they have signed up for an accelerated course on earth where they are learning lessons at a more accelerated rate and all of those kinds of things. So it's just, and that's one of the things that if you were to have a reading or a chart done, that we would go over that. There's also a personality number, and there's also a number that has to deal with, like a core number of how people see you and how you see yourself. So there's all of these different, like I said, up to 22 different numbers that each person has. And then you can go ahead and add, like, what's your house number? That has a lot to do with it. And what's your driver's license number, your license plate number, your credit card, your social security number, like what's your bank account number, what's your phone number? Like everything is a number, and each one of those things communicates a different thing. And there's a reason that China wanted the Olympics on 8/8 of 88 or whenever in 2008, all of those things. That's why they pay to have certain things with their phone numbers, because in China, the 8 is a very fortunate sign. So, it's one of those things where it has like that sort of magical thing, but that also has to deal with it's during the Lion's portal. So, you take a look at that, you look at all of these different things and you start layering it and you start weaseling it away. And one person, I did his chart, and it was like he just had 4, 4, 4. Everything was a 4. License plate, social security, like, and he's like, I don't want to be a 4. And I'm like, well, then you're gonna have to start going by something else, because 4 is all about lessons of hard work. It has to do with that. So would it be helpful? Would you like for me to run down just basically a couple of words of what each number is?
Yeah,
Would that be
that'll be
helpful?
really helpful. Yeah.
Okay, so the 1 is the beginner. They actually start things, they don't finish things. That's not their gift. They're the entrepreneur. They're the people who then a lot of people will think are sort of self-absorbed or selfish, but that's not necessarily where their gifts lie. So if you can hone in on their gift. 2 is about partnerships, relationships, how you work with other people, relationships, romantic, business. Otherwise, it doesn't always have to be, just a spouse or a partner, a life partner. 3 is about communication. It's the inner child. It's having fun. It's creative. It's the artist, the dancer, the poet, all of those things, the writer, the speaker. And 4 is lessons of hard work. If you have a 4 in your life and they promise to help you with the graduation party and they're on a plane flying there, the plane crashes in the ocean, they're going to find something, even with their 2 broken legs and their 1 broken arm, they're going to find a floating device and they're going to paddle with their good arm to get there because they promised they were going to help you. So the 4 is dependable. If you're looking for a good employee, see if they have a 4 in their chart. And then the 5 is all about risk, change, variety, travel, freedom, courage. Like you have to do all of this kind of stuff. And you want to just blaze new trails, try new things. Like they get bored really easily. They do work really well on their own. And then the 6 is about actually balance, family. It's about service and service at the community level. 7 is about spirituality, whatever that means to you. But it also is about blazing your own path of doing what it is that you want to do, that you sort of like think of it as a sabbatical, like you're going to kind of go off. I tell everyone that the 7 is a 1 with a hat on. That is the 1, but it wears a hat. So it's not as obvious that it's selfish or that it's being, promoting its own self thing. It's does its own thing of its own drummer, but in a different way, like in a softer way. So, but it's the most prevalent number on the planet. It's God's number, most prevalent number in the Bible. There's 7 virtues, 7 vices, 7 seas, 7 continents, 7 deadly sins, like 7 days of the week. Like you could go on, right? And then 8 is lessons of money. 8 is about structure, detail, oriented things. It's lessons of money. So it looks like, again, like the dollar sign. If you turn it on its side, it's the number of infinity, but it's also a roller coaster. So that's exactly what happens. You either have a lot of money or you have no money, and you have to learn how to manage both. And so, but it's also somebody that you get invited to the party, not because you're fun. The 3s are fun. The 5s make it lively. It's the aides who get invited because they're going to bring all the chips, make sure that the punch bowl's filled. They're going to make sure the extra bag of ice is there. They're going to make sure that they have a backup to the backup. And then the 9 is about service at a global level. The 9s are the ones that are going to clean up everything at the party. So the 1s are the grand poobahs in the parade. They're riding in the convertible, waving to everybody. And the 9s are coming, the 8s keeping everybody in line and the whole parade moving. And the 9s come along and they clean up the confetti and the horse poop. So that's just how it works. And so
Oh, Rhonda's frozen again, just as whilst we're waiting for Rhonda to come back again. Ciara says, "Hello, Rhonda. Happy birthday. I'll have to catch the beginning when it's over." Yep, that's brilliant. Thank you, Ciara, for coming on and saying happy birthday to Rhonda. And hopefully she'll get back again in a minute. Although, of course, obviously she can hear everything we're saying, so I've got to be really nice.
can
To
we,
Oh,
can you
you're
hear me?
back. Oh, now she's gone. So we'll just wait for her to come back in again. So hopefully she'll just go out and come back in. Yeah, I'll show that message to Rhonda when she comes back in again. And I noticed, Doreen, that you've actually got the angel wings behind you, and obviously your birth date was 11, so sort of like an angel number, which is pretty cool for that. Um, and that so when Rhonda comes back and we finish off the numbers, then what I'll do is I will see whether Rhonda wants me to pull an angel oracle card for herself and all you and everyone who's watching, or whether she wants me to do a mini guided meditation to uh, to see what's going on. So yeah, so we just wait for her to come back. So anyone got any other questions or anything that they want to know about a particular um, number? Ah, here she is back again. Hello.
I didn't know how to come back. So finally I just thought, okay, well, I'm going to sign off and come back in. So I don't know what happened. I'm even on my laptop. So usually I have pretty good connection with that too. So I don't know if we finished with the 9s. Did we finish with the 9s
We
that
we
they
fi-
are completion?
we finished with the 9. Yep.
And then the master numbers are visionary leaders. They're really gifted teachers. They have just a higher way of knowing, like they just know things. And that's because that, they have that. So it doesn't mean that they're superior because we need everybody. We need 1 through 9 and we need the 11, 22s and 33s. And just keep in mind, if you do have a master number, that it means that um, there's more expected of you, not only from yourself, but from society too. Like there's just this higher expectation. So there's a lot to do with that a little bit. I hope that helps.
Yep. No, that helps me. And
That helps, right?
oh, okay. And Ciara came on and said, "Hello, Rhonda. Happy birthday. I'll catch you at the beginning when it's over."
Thanks.
Oh, and we've got an echo. Hey. Oh, no, the
I
echo's gone now, which is
okay. All right.
yeah, which is pretty good that it has. So, as you know, I do angel oracle card readings and guided meditations, and each week I like to ask my guests whether they would like a mini guided meditation or me to pull an angel oracle card for themselves and those watching. So, Rhonda, what would you like me to do? Pull an angel oracle card for you and those watching, or do a mini guided meditation?
I think I'd like the angel card, please.
Funny enough, I got them in my hand. Amazing, that one, isn't it? So, let's see. So, what does Rhonda and everyone who's watching this live or the replay need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? And I always do the cards for what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. So, what does Rhonda and everyone who's watching this live or the replay need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? Okay, let's see. What have we got today? Beautiful card. Absolutely perfect. Wise leader, you are a beacon for others. How cool is that? So yeah, so
It's very fitting,
it is very fitting
very fitting.
for what we've been talking about, for you, as well, and for everyone watching. It's remembering you are a wise leader. You are a beacon for others, and if you start using numbers for it, it's going to be amazing about how you can, you know, educate people and bring them together. So yeah, it's just remembering that you are that wise leader, and you have the information inside of you, no matter where that information comes from. So be that beacon of unconditional love, wisdom for everyone else. And Rhonda, thank you so much for being that wise leader and that beacon for others. That's absolutely brilliant and amazing. So yeah, perfect apt card for what we've been talking about today. So Rhonda, do you have any insights or thoughts or last words to leave our viewers?
Well, I just want everybody to know that 2023 is a 7 year. So this is a year about spirituality. And this is a really great year to sort of like blaze your own trail, kind of take your own path, reflect a lot of self reflection. You want to do that. And then you also want to have um, the ability to know that the 7 is about knowing that your needs will be met. Now, the 8 is about working to get the money or the whatever it is that you need provided, whether it's shelter, food, whatever. The 7 is a spiritual number. And so it relates to, the universe or God or the creator, or whoever it is that you call it. And it knows about like that you just have to know that what's going to be provided is going to show up. So I've told people that 2023 is going to be a magical year. Now, that doesn't mean it's a easy skate by year or a free year. The universe is going to give you multiple opportunities to see if you can keep that belief that what you need is going to show up when you need it and probably better than what you expected. But it's a year about spirituality that you want to do that. Then you want to take a look at, we're in a 3 month. So again, it's going to partnership with that 3 energy. So this is the month then to be doing things with that inner child and sort of experimenting spiritual things with the inner child or doing things that are fun or creative or, take a class. Those are all things to do with that. And then April is about, it's a 4.
Oh, just got into April 4 month, and Rhonda's frozen on us. I do love the way the universe works for that. Are you back, Rhonda?
I can hear you. I don't know. Can you hear me?
I I can hear you now.
Okay.
So you went
And
into for April.
yeah, so April is 4, it's about hard work. So, you were playing in month 3, which is March. Now you're going to do the hard work, whatever it is. So it might be that let's just say that they want to learn more about angels or angel cards or numbers, and then they're going to, experiment with it today and have fun. They're going to start going home and adding up all the numbers in their life. And then they're like, okay, then 4 is about doing the work, learning more about whatever's going on. And then 5 is more about the risk. Then that's going to be about change and maybe expanding their thinking and all of that. But again, this whole theme, this whole year is spirituality. And think of it for those of you that are old enough to remember the 1970s, we're having that energy of that 70s, where everybody sort of did their own thing. They all went to get, their head shrunk. They did all of these kinds of things where they did things to self-improvement. But it's also that lesson of allowing the magic to happen and know that what you need is going to be provided, that it's not something that you need to force, but you have to have that sort of intention to set with that. So that'd be the thing I would leave with everybody, that they can do that. And that's for the whole universe that we're experiencing this year 7 right now, that 7 energy for the whole year.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. And it makes so much sense with stuff that's going on in my life at the moment. So that's pretty good. So I hope everyone that you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have. I know I'll definitely be getting Rhonda's book when it comes out, because I'm now, yeah, I want to go and starting adding up everything. So Rhonda, if people want to connect with you, how do they do that? And thank you, Doreen, for being here um, and asking a question. So yeah, so how do people connect with you if they want
The
to, Rhonda?
easiest way to find me is rhondareif.com. And from there, you can click on the little links that take you right to that's my website. Click on the link that takes you right to my Facebook. It takes you to my LinkedIn page. It takes you to my YouTube page. So there's all of those kinds of things. Now, I'm not tech savvy, so I don't have everything up on the YouTube yet. Excuse me, but that's the easiest way to do it. And then also, when you go to the web page, you can click subscribe. Please do that, but scroll down to the bottom. I was not able to move it to the top. That scroll down to the bottom and actually fill out a little form, because that will come directly to my inbox and tell me that somebody actually has subscribed. So subscribe, but then scroll to the bottom and do that, and then you'll be on like for the email list if there's more things that are coming up with this today. I will tell you that I primarily communicate through Facebook Messenger. That seems to be the easiest thing for me, but the easiest way to find me is actually through that rhondareif.com. The email is rhondareifmba.com. So that's another way that they can reach me too. And I do have a professional page and a Facebook Live page and an actual personal page. So they can again find me through Facebook too. I have a very unusual name. It's not something like Tom Smith or Mary Jones. So it's pretty easy to find me that way. So
Yeah. And what I'll do is I'll put the links in the comments after the show so you can just click on there, because obviously you want to sign up to newsletter because you'll know when Rhonda's book's going to be released, so we can actually go, yeah, let's go and do our numbers. So again, thank you so much everyone for watching, and all those that wished Rhonda a happy birthday today. It's been absolutely amazing that they've joined us. And of course, if you are now ready to remember your divine presence and step onto your spiritual multidimensional path, but feel lost, confused, stuck, or alone, then please feel free to connect with me, and we can see where you are now and how you can move forward to take charge of your destiny and spread your wings and soar. And of course, please feel free to join my weekly newsletter and receive a free future life progression recording, where I take you into a future lifetime to get guidance and clarity that you can use in your current life, as well as a couple of other free gifts. And again, thank you everyone so much for watching. And I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny just like you, and really need to know about numbers, how numbers work in their life, and how, we are manipulated in the world by numbers. So you can actually start seeing through what's going on in the world. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified when the show goes live, or I post new guides meditations. And there will also be a link there to Rhonda's page, because every subscription we get, every comment we get really helps the algorithms and gets us more noticed, to be able to connect with more people and be of service and help more people. And Sue says, thank you, very interesting. And Roxane says, thank you for the invite. Again, thank you, ladies, for joining and answering. And I look forward to seeing you all, same place, same time next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.
bye. Thank you.